Imagine living in a world where access to quality communication services is a given, not a luxury. Yet, for many in the Bahamas, the digital divide is a stark reality. Today, we delve into bridging the digital divide, ensuring quality communication services for all. We'll explore the initiatives, challenges, and innovations aimed at connecting every corner of our nation. Stay with us as we uncover how we can ensure that everyone, everywhere, has the tools to stay informed, connected, and empowered. Keep watching. A brand new episode of You and Your Money starts now.
But what? The luncheon?
Why you always worried about food? No, about how we gotta pay a little more for national insurance.
Mildred, you talking fool. I can't afford to pay that.
And you're always crying, palm out. Ain't gonna be much. Boss still gotta pay. 1st of July, 2024. Oh, I can't wait to get my little extra pension.
You ain't lie about that, you know. I think that's what did help my boy Tony during the pandemic. That same unemployment benefit. And guess what?
What?
Susan, I think she'd get a pregnancy benefit, eh?
You mean maternity benefit, eh? So now, we gotta do our part to make sure we get our pension. All right, well, let me try and go back to work, you see, boss.
Wake up, wake up, wake up dead early with Bahamas at Sunrise on RTV, channel 212. We're live at 6:30 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays with rebroadcast at 8 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and also at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Man, Bahamas at Sunrise brings you everything. We got weather, fashion, food, politics, current events, music, and more with your hosts, Mark Daniels and Gabriel Gardner. Tune in to Bahamas at Sunrise dead early, the best in Bahamian morning television. Thanks, Michelle.
No problem. Hey, congratulations on your new promotion.
Even I was surprised.
So what are you going to do with that new windfall of yours, or the discretionary income?
You mean like investing in stocks and bonds?
Yes, you might want to consider investing in mutual funds. Money's a pool to invest in financial assets that fit your investment profile. Start your journey to financial freedom and secure your future.
How do you know all this? What's Leno?
𝗲𝗏𝗏 Holdings Limited is proud of its consistent growth and the financial success it continues to bring to many Bahamians who invest in the company. 𝗲𝗏𝗏 is committed to ensuring optimal financial performance for its shareholders. 𝗲𝗏𝗏's leadership remains focused on superior customer service and operational excellence across all sectors. 𝗲𝗏𝗏, fueling growth for people.
Tonight's You and Your Money is brought to you by 𝗲𝗏𝗏 and 𝗪𝗏𝗏.
Welcome to You and Your Money, everyone. Joining us today to talk about expanding infrastructure, building a connected nation, are Ms. Candice Davis, Regulatory Manager Economics, and Mr. Rodman Deleveaux, Regulatory Officer Legal, both from 𝗪𝗏𝗏, Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority. Ms. Davis and Mr. Deleveaux, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you for having us.
Now, Ms. Davis, what are the primary challenges faced in accessing or expanding communication services in the Bahamas?
Well, the biggest challenge is due to our geographic layout. As an archipelago, we have so many islands. So in order to provide this service, operators have to duplicate the service on each island. So this prevents a financial resource implication to duplicate this infrastructure on every island. And also you find that the quality of service throughout the islands may not be the same. So on the more rural or remote areas, the quality of service may not be as good as, let's say, on New Providence or Grand Bahama. But because this cost is spread out on a lower population, it may not be as incentivizing for operators to provide service to these islands.
All right, well, Mr. Deleveaux, now can you provide an overview of some of the current projects that's aimed at improving the high-speed internet access across all of the Bahamas?
Yes, well, we are cognizant that access to reliable quality electronic communication services is very important and critical to the development of our society and economy. So two of the projects that we have ongoing right now, the first one I'm going to talk about is the Quality of Service Framework Review. So this project consisted of two parts. We completed the first part last year, well early this year, which is the outage reporting and mitigation regulation. So that particular regulation was, the objective of it was to address an information inadequacy in terms of planned and unplanned outage reporting by our licensees, major licensees to 𝗑𝗏. And it also imposed a duty on the licensees to ensure that they comply with international best practices and industry standards in ensuring that their networks, ensuring that they're able to mitigate outages. The second project that I'm going to speak about is the 5G public consultation, which is also a two-phase project. Last year we looked at the demand side and use cases for 5G, trying to identify the current and future demands and use cases in the Bahamas for 5G in order to inform our regulatory decision making. The second phase of the project, which is currently ongoing, is looking at our regulatory framework to ensure that it facilitates the rollout of 5G by our licensees.
Now, we know that communication is key straight across the board, and it's good to know that 𝗑𝗏 is well underway in terms of having to put some things in place to ensure that we are connected straight across the board. Now, Ms. Davis, how does competition improve access to communication services?
So competition, it encourages operators to be more innovative. So that's it. If you have a monopoly, the operator, if they're the only game in town, they know that you don't have a choice but to use their service. So there's less of a motivation for them to provide better service or to make additional investments in the infrastructure. But if you have competition, they know that, okay, well, if we don't have quality service or have the, the certain technology that people want, that their customers may move to the other provider. So it just incentivizes operators to be more innovative, invest more in infrastructure, and provide a better service quality.
I think this is where cutting edge technology comes into play, where you have them playing against themselves, really. And it's to the benefit of the consumers, those of us who want to make sure that we're able to use our devices as easily as we'd like to without having to worry about any disruptions. Now, Mr. Deleveaux, what specific strategies are being implemented to ensure the reliability and the sustainability of new communication networks, especially in remote areas?
Yeah, so currently, as I mentioned earlier, our quality of service framework review, a part of that is actually looking at our quality of service regulations for the electronic communication sector. So that piece of regulation was issued in 2016. So, some time has passed and of course, technology has progressed since then. So we're currently reviewing that to ensure that the reporting metrics are fit for purpose and also take into consideration the changes to the Bahamian ECS market and also technology. Also, we're looking at improving our monitoring of quality of service to ensure that our licensees are complying with the minimum required service standards to ensure that persons have access to reliable quality electronic communication services throughout the Bahamas.
Well, you definitely just answered another question I had, because you mentioned ECS, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? Well, electronic communication services, just in case you did not know. Now, Ms. Davis, how does 𝗑𝗏 plan to monitor and evaluate the progress as well as the effectiveness of these infrastructure expansion projects?
So we have the consumer protection regulations, and in those regulations, there's quality of service standards, and the operators also have reporting requirements. So let's say if they don't install your service within a certain time frame as set out in the consumer protection regulations, then you as a consumer, after you've made a complaint to the operator, then you could take this to 𝗑𝗏𝗏 and then we will try to resolve your issue. And in terms of reporting, the operators are also required to report their complaints and also their quality of service parameters, and we monitor these as well.
So where can we find the actual documentation that speaks to the consumer protection?
The consumer protection regulations are on our 𝗑𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 website, and if you go to the search bar and type in consumer protection regulations, then it should come up. We recently revised them, so the most recent one is 2024. So look for the 2024 version on our website.
All right. Well, we have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at affordable access, making quality communication services accessible. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
But what? The luncheon?
Why you always worried about food? No, about how we gotta pay a little more for national insurance.
Mildred, you talking fool. I can't afford to pay that.
And you're always crying, palm out. Ain't gonna be much. Boss still gotta pay. 1st of July 2024. Oh, I can't wait to get my little extra pension.
You ain't lie about that, you know. I think that's what did help my boy Tony during the pandemic. That same unemployment benefit. And guess what?
What?
Susan, I think she'd get a pregnancy benefit, eh?
You mean maternity benefit, eh? So now, we gotta do our part to make sure we get our pension. All right, well, let me try and go back to 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗑𝗘𝗖𝗧.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, dead early with Bahamas at sunrise on RTV, channel 212. We're live at 6:30 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays with rebroadcast at 8 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and also at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Man, Bahamas at sunrise brings you everything. We got weather, fashion, food, politics, current events, music, and more with your hosts, Mark Daniels and Gabrielle Gardner. Tune in to Bahamas at sunrise, dead early, the best in Bahamian morning television.
Thanks, Michelle.
No problem. Hey, congratulations on your new promotion.
Even I was surprised.
So what are you going to do with that new windfall of yours, or the discretionary income?
You mean like investing in stocks and bonds?
Yes, you might want to consider investing in mutual funds. Monies are pooled to invest in financial assets that fit your investment profile. Start your journey to financial freedom and secure your future.
How do you know all this? What's Leno?
𝗖𝗛𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 Holdings Limited is proud of its consistent growth and the financial success it continues to bring to many Bahamians who invest in the company. 𝗖𝗛𝗡𝗘 is committed to ensuring optimal financial performance for its shareholders. 𝗖𝗛𝗡𝗘's leadership remains focused on superior customer service and operational excellence across all sectors. 𝗖𝗛𝗡𝗘, fueling growth for people.
Welcome back to You and Your Money, everyone. In this segment, I'll be speaking with 𝗑𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 Director of Electronic Communications, Mr. Rupert Pinder, and we'll be discussing affordable access, making quality communication services accessible. Now, Mr. Pinder, what initiatives are currently in place to make communication services more affordable for low-income households in the Bahamas?
Well, just a segue in terms of some of the responses you would have gotten from some of my colleagues earlier in the show. So one of the initiatives, or one of the projects that is earmarked for 2024 in terms of improving access is our Universal Service Obligation Framework, right? And that is to provide access to quality communication services throughout the Bahamas.
Well, Mr. Pinder, how is 𝗪𝗏 addressing the issue of digital literacy to ensure that all citizens can effectively use and benefit from modern communication technologies?
Well, as I would have indicated, we have a number of initiatives through the Consumer Relations Department aimed at overall digital literacy. It's also a major component of our Universal Service Obligation framework to look at the gaps with respect to overall digital literacy. But I think one of the things that is very important here is that it's just not a focus in terms of digital literacy. We also have to look in terms of our overall consumer awareness programs in terms of the extent to which users of communication services know in terms of some of the work and some of the initiatives undertaken by 𝗪𝗏, not just in the area of digital literacy, but generally in terms of some of the initiatives aimed at improving access to quality communication services.
Now, considering the digital literacy component, what role does competition among service providers play in enhancing affordability as well as the accessibility of communication services?
Well, you know, that's a very interesting question because my colleague, Ms. Davis, would have provided, I thought, a very comprehensive response to an earlier segment. But competition is germane in terms of, well, improving access and also in terms of lowering price. The more that there's competition in the market, it obviously not just improve in terms of the quality of service, but also in terms of improving prices and improving innovation in the market.
I know you would have talked about some of the initiatives that you guys may have in place, but can you discuss any specific programs or subsidies that aim to reduce the cost of internet as well as mobile services for underserved communities?
Well, again, I mean, one of the subsidies is that we have just released in terms of a communication fees reduction scheme, which is obviously in terms of initiative undertaken by the government of the Bahamas to provide subsidies to licensees in providing communication services in some of our underserved and unserved areas within the Bahamas. So that is one of the key initiatives that is really aimed at providing access to quality communication services by way of subsidies.
Well, we have to take another break, and when we get back, we'll talk about educational and community programs empowering users through knowledge. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
I can't believe how big Christopher's gotten. He'll soon be ready for college.
Not at the rate I'm going. I'm praying for an athletic scholarship.
It's never a bad time to start saving. I just started Nicole on a college savings plan. I have options based on her age. It contains a mix of stocks, bonds, however you choose.
Mommy, come push me.
I'm coming.
Girl, how do you know all of this? What's Leno?
Wake up, wake up, wake up, Dad Early with Bahamas at Sunrise on RTV, channel 212. We're live at 6:30 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays with rebroadcast at 8 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and also at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Man, Bahamas at Sunrise brings you everything. We got weather, fashion, food, politics, current events, music, and more with your hosts, Mark Daniels and Gabrielle Gardner. Tune in to Bahamas at Sunrise, Dad Early, the best in Bahamian morning television.
Since 1974, the National Insurance Board has been an income replacement safety net.
But to ensure our future remains secure, starting July 1st, 2024, contribution rates will increase and will continue to be shared by employers and employees.
We will be sharing more information in the upcoming months, but for now, get more details on nibrateincrease.com.
Invest in tomorrow today with NIB.
Because together, we can ensure our financial future.
𝗲𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗥 Holdings Limited is proud of its consistent growth and the financial success it continues to bring to many Bahamians who invest in the company. 𝗲𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗥 is committed to ensuring optimal financial performance for its shareholders. FOCAL's leadership remains focused on superior customer service and operational excellence across all sectors. FOCAL, fueling growth for people.
Man, I thought retirement would have slowed you down.
It's the island life, son. Living in paradise.
Must be nice. Can't wait until it's my turn, if that day ever comes.
My financial planner has provided me with solutions for my future. Pension, retirement, and even property management.
So who helped you with all this?
Let's go, son. 2 more miles.
What's Leno?
Welcome back to You and Your Money, everyone. Regulatory Officer Legal from 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏, Mr. Rodman Deleveaux, is here to speak with us. In the previous segments, we spoke about expanding infrastructure, building a connected nation, and affordable access, making quality communication services accessible. In this segment, I want us to talk about educational and community programs, empowering users through knowledge. Mr. Deleveaux, what future innovations and technologies is 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏 exploring to ensure that the Bahamas stays ahead in the digital age?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at 5G in terms of ensuring that we have the appropriate regulatory framework to facilitate that. We're also looking at technologies such as artificial intelligence and also the Internet of Things, IoT. But one thing I want to stress, though, is with the increasing digitization of the economy, it's important that there's a framework to ensure that persons are safe while using these digital services. So one thing that we are looking at is developing a cybersecurity framework which will ensure the availability, confidentiality, and integrity of electronic communication services. So we're looking at measures that would encourage or promote reporting of incidents to the regulator by our licensees, and also ensuring that our licensees take appropriate measures to comply with international best practices to ensure that their networks are safe for users and are not able to be infiltrated by those persons looking to cause harm.
I think it's so important that you even mentioned the safety component, because a lot of times we think about just simply using devices, and truth be told, it's not always considering whether or not it's safe in terms of how the information is being transmitted, or possibly even who may get access to that information. Now, you talked about the rollout of the 5G technology. What benefits do you anticipate it's going to bring to the Bahamas?
Well, 5G offers an improvement on the previous technology, which is 4G. So you're looking at improved broadband speeds, improved latency, which is the time for the communication to reach from the device to the network, which is critical for mission critical services, or even use cases such as remote surgeries, and also 5G would also improve access to e-learning and also government digitization initiatives. So it's really improving the broadband connectivity, mobile, for consumers to have access to improve internet services to facilitate the digitization of the economy.
Now, what steps is 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏 taking to ensure that upcoming communication technologies are accessible, as well as it being beneficial to all residents, particularly, yet again, those in remote or underserved areas?
As my colleague, Mr. Pinder, spoke about earlier, the Universal Service Obligation Framework, in my view, is a key component of this, ensuring that all persons and communities have access, regardless of where they're located, if they're located in rural or remote areas, to a baseline of services. So that for me, this is a key component. Also, as Mr. Pinder also referred to, our comms fee reduction scheme, which incentivizes our licensees to make investments in areas that are uneconomic to serve, or underserved areas, for instance, our family islands, and also to invest in new technologies. So those are, in my view, the two key projects that I think facilitates that. Additionally, I would like to highlight that the introduction of Starlink to our fixed broadband services provides access in rural areas that may be challenged or difficult for traditional operators to meet service demands. So I think Starlink is an option there in terms of that connectivity in rural and remote areas.
Now, while we're talking about the new technologies that's coming on board, I'm sure that there are some instances where persons may complain about services or not being able to receive services. Now, let's talk about what are some of those ways that persons can actually go ahead and put their complaints in. What's the process involved?
Yeah, so I know as Bahamians we have a tendency to go on social media and type up and complain, but it's important for, if you have a complaint about your service provider, to first address that complaint with the service provider and then give them an opportunity to resolve your issue. And within 30 days, if you're not satisfied with their response, or if you don't receive a response, then you can escalate the matter to us. But it's important for you to document exactly the nature of your complaint so that we can, when we approach the licensee with your complaint, that we be in a position to explore it with them. So it's important you can reach out to us by telephone. You can reach out to us by email at info@𝗓𝗑�bahamas.bs. And I think now with the website, there's going to be an ability to actually submit a complaint online. So it's like I said, I want to drive home the point that it's important, if you have complaints, to raise those with the operator. And if you're not satisfied with that, then you can escalate the matter to 𝗓𝗑 and we can look into it for you.
We definitely want to encourage all of our consumers, those that's watching, if you have any complaints, do not be afraid to go ahead and make a note of it, all right? Not just make a note, but make sure you document it so that you can carry it into the necessary persons and get your problems resolved, all right? Mr. Deleveaux, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I just want to clarify for those viewers and listeners who may be unfamiliar with 𝗓𝗑, we are a multi-sector regulator, so we regulate electronic communication services in the Bahamas, which includes your internet services, your mobile services, your radio broadcasting services, so BTC, Cable Bahamas, Alive, and your radio broadcasters. We regulate those. So if you have any complaints about those entities, you can always, like I said, refer those complaints to those entities and also escalate it to 𝗓𝗑 if necessary. We also regulate the energy sector in the Bahamas, which includes electricity. So we regulate BPL, and now recently with the recent amendments passed in the Parliament, we also regulate the natural gas sector. So I think it's important for me to highlight those sectors that we regulate so that if persons have any concerns or issues that they'd like to raise with us, so they can be fully aware of what it is that we do.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having us.
As we work towards bridging the digital divide, it's clear that access to quality communication services is vital for everyone. Let's continue to advocate for and support initiatives that connect us all, ensuring that no one is left behind. Scan the QR code on the screen to give us your feedback. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, let's stay connected and informed on the issues that matters most. Here are our dollars and cents snapshots from this week's show. Number 1, digital equity. Ensuring quality communication services bridges the digital divide, providing equal opportunities for all. Number 2, infrastructure investment. Investing in communication infrastructure boosts economic growth and enhances connectivity. Number 3, community impact. Access to reliable communication services transforms communities, fostering education and innovation. Well, that's it for today's show. And don't forget to scan the QR code on the screen to give us your feedback. Follow You and Your Money on Facebook and tune in next week for a brand new episode. I'm Ria Christina. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.